following video features excerpts from 4 recorded live lessons on drawing with graphite on charcoal paper, in this case an architectural landscape. To access this complete video series as well as the other recorded live lessons, visit thevirtualinstructor.com/members. All right, now I'm going to use the bottom tip of the pencil here, and I'm going to kind of loosely start to draw in the shapes of the mountains. And I'm going to start really loosely here. And again, don't put so much pressure on yourself for it to be perfect. So we're going to let that happen. So we're already creating a bit of space here. And so with these mountains that are the furthest away, we're going to let them be really light. And you can see that in the photo reference way off there in the distance, how we've got that light value on this one, and then it slowly gets darker and darker. We got some higher contrast in this rock. And I don't know what it is about the charcoal paper either, but it seems like to me that it almost helps me draw straighter lines. Now I'll say that, and then I'll start drawing these crazy lines. You watch. But so I decided to put a little bit more of a curve on this top part. I know it's not there in the reference. There is a curve. It's not quite as severe. Doesn't dip down quite as much, but I'm choosing to make it dip down a little bit more. And that may look dark, but when we start to add the shading around here, these sections are just going to pop out. And this little piece will look light. We'll have a nice cast shadow on the wall over here. But when you see a work and you can see the marks that the artist made, and you can still appreciate the accuracy or appreciate the way they applied the material in a way that shows a level of craftsmanship, and I think that that is a sign of a good piece of artwork. Now, of course, we're doing this subject in graphite, but boy, this would look great in pastel. Just those warm colors popping against the cool colors that are painted on the doors. Just beautiful. So let's go ahead and get started there and see if we can get what's happening in my head on the paper. The first thing I'm going to do is kind of lightly outline the shape of the tree here, just so I can get an idea of where it is. And remember, if you're off a little bit, it's no big deal. Did add a bit more of the shapes down here on the end, and I kind of went through that really quick. Maybe I'll back up and show you that in just a minute. All right, it looks like there's a little bit of a light part that gets through here. Maybe that's a branch or something that's happening. So I'm going to kind of allow that light shape down here, and I'm going to go ahead and let it be kind of branch-like down there. Dark spots there on the side of the hill. And it starts to get dark again down here at the bottom. And here again, I'm not thinking about what I'm drawing. I'm just thinking about what I'm seeing in the reference, and I'm trying to match the value and the shape. Now, I was going to start with the mountains and work my way across, but here I am into the buildings now, because I just wanted to show you for a second how we could push the values. And now I'm moving on here, adding all these dark values. I'm going to get back to those mountains in a minute, though. But if you keep going, you'll see how it kind of pulls itself together. So in this mountain off in the distance, there's some darker areas, a little bit of shadow. And in the photo reference, there's not a real strong definition between the two ranges, but I might leave just a little bit of a light line to indicate the difference between the two. Let's see, I might go back and fill that in. And it looks like this range kind of curves around here and then kind of splits down here and here. So we've got kind of this flat area that's catching light, another one right there, and then we've got kind of a darker shape right there. That's how I'm kind of seeing it. So here's kind of our darker shape developing here, and then we're going to have kind of a area of lighter value. Not lighter value, but lighter than what we put right here. Now, some of your softer graphite pencils, like this one, you might notice it creates a little bit of a heavier texture on the surface, and sometimes that's not great. Sometimes you need to smooth those out. So I'll show you how you can fix that in just a moment. We'll go ahead and make this a little bit darker. Tree. Because we've got some dark areas and some light areas, and the way that we apply the material kind of gives the illusion of leaves. Now, of course, the texture feels a little bit different on the buildings because it's applied a little bit differently. There's not a variation in value as much as there is in the tree as there is on the buildings. Moving over here, I did complete the rest of the mountains as I said I was going to before tonight's lesson so that we can concentrate on the buildings tonight. Again, sticking with the texture, it's a relationship between the dark and the light values that leads to the illusion of texture. And our light, of course, is coming from the upper right hand corner. So a lot of those cast shadows are going to be coming down at a little bit of a diagonal to reflect that. I'm just going to bring that all the way across, just super light. Maybe we'll just give a little bit more information on there and make it look a little bit like it's made out of slats of wood. All right, another dark shape right here. I'm not really sure what's happening right here, but again, don't ask questions. Just draw what you see. And then we've got one more of those poles that overhang. And these poles are kind of creating a nice rhythm in the image. They can be close. And it probably needs to be close enough to communicate, but doesn't have to be exactly. Okay, so we got a very slight highlighted area right here. And that is just so subtle. And remember, when you're drawing this, or when you're drawing any subject really, it doesn't have to be exactly the same as what you see in the photo reference. If things are off a little bit or a little bit different than what you see in the photo reference, that's okay. So, you know, the tendency is you see these poles under here and you think, well, they're all dark, I'll make them all dark, and you forget about that subtle change in value that your mind actually perceives when you're looking at it. Anything we can do, any trick that we can use to help create the illusion of light, we should use it. Let that go all the way up there. And overall, it's a little bit darker underneath these guys, so we'll just kind of create some patterns of cast shadow. Again, following the cross contour, we're going to leave a little area for highlight. See that little subtle area for highlight there? With your wrist, you are going to get frustrated. So you want to try to draw from your shoulder here and just barely touch it. So can you even see those lines over there? This might be my wife's. I've got one that's mine, but my wife, worked as an architect and an interior designer, and she has one as well. So I think this actually about me and my wife. So it's the best thing my wife's purchased. But it's great to have because, the tendency when you're working and you have something on your paper is to take your hand and smear it. And of course, the palm of your hand has oils in it, and that's no good because you can smear the paper or smear the graphite and nothing good comes from that. Go back. Okay, now it's time to create the contrast here for the clouds, and this is probably as far as we're going to get. I'm going to very gently, what I want to happen here is I want it to be dark enough to create contrast between the cloud and the sky, but light enough so that we have enough contrast between the mountain and the sky. Okay, now the shadows in the cloud a little bit darker, but we don't want the cloud to become the mountain. You know, in some images there can be some kind of overlap between the mountains and the clouds, if you will. That line can be a little less defined, but in this one, I definitely want the cloud to be different from the mountain. And you can start to see that develop. We got another cloud over here, just a little peep of one coming up. The preseason video featured excerpts from 4 recorded live lessons. Click on the video to learn more about how you can access our library of over 130 recorded live lessons, as well as weekly new lessons where members can log in and ask questions and make comments via a chat box, as well as access to our comprehensive courses, the ultimate lesson plan for teachers, and the weekly Members Minute, all part of our comprehensive program at thevirtualinstructor.com.